Hello students, this is my fourth video of SJF CPU scheduling algorithm program, and in this video actually I am going to discuss the logic or the code of our SJF CPU scheduling algorithm C program operating system lab part A program number 3. Okay, so let's start. If you see what is the first line is hash include. This is a preprocessor directive, and what are we doing in this? We are asking our compiler to include our library file or the header file known as stdio.h. Then the next line is int main. This is our main function, and this is always the entry point of our C program. The execution of our C program will always start from the function main. Now when you see this int, what do you mean by this int? It simply means that main is going to return integer value, or the return type of our function main is integer. This denotes the opening of the body of our main function. And then here you can see there are the variable declaration statements. In first statement we are declaring three variables n, I and j, and the type is integer. And then in the second statement we are declaring 1, 2, 3, 4. We are declaring 4 arrays. What are the array names? BT, P, WT, TAT. For BT I have taken the size as 20. You can take any size. So here the size of our BT array is 20. Size of our array P is 10. Size of our array WT is 10. And the size of our array TAT is 10. Now you can ask me, can we take BT also 10? Because when there are 10 processes, definitely the BT is also going to be 10, right? So you can always make it as 10. Okay. Next, again there are two variables that we have declared in the third statement. What are the two variables? Total WT and total TAT. And we have also initialized these two variables with 0 because these are our accumulators. And what is the type? Type is integer. Fine. So this block of statements is nothing but declaration of the variables. So the memory will be allocated to these variables during the compilation time. Static memory allocation. Okay, fine. Then there is a printf statement. This printf statement will display the message. What is the message? The message is enter number of processes. After that, user will enter the value of number of processes. So to accept that input, we are having the scanf statement or scanf function, and we are accepting, and that value will be stored into our variable n. Ampersand means the address of that variable n. Why %d? This is the format specifier for integer variable. Since n is declared as integer, we are using the format specifier %d in our scanf. Now we know how many processes are there. The next part is to accept the burst time of each and every process. Now since this is a repetitive process, correct? Like accept the burst time of first process, and accept the burst time of second process, third process, fourth process. So what is a repetitive task? Accepting the burst time is a repetitive task, and since this is a repetitive task, we will be using the loop. Now in this case I have used for loop because I know how many number of times. Because I am accepting the value of n, I know that n number of times I am going to accept the value of our burst time array, or in other words I can say that I know that I am going to accept the burst time of n processes. So this repetition is a finite number of repetition. What is the finite number? N number of times, right? So when we know how many number of times we want to repeat, we always use the for loop. So if you see for loop, it says that for I is equal to 0, y is the first value, or why the initial value of I is 0? Because BT is an array. Our burst time, where are we storing the burst time of each and every process? Into an array known as BT, right? And array's first subscript is always 0. First subscript of the array is always 0. So that's what we are doing. Now what user has entered, as I always mention every time in every video, I would like to keep the same input. It doesn't mean that you have to give this. No, you can give 5, you can give 4, you can give 3, 4, 10, 11, whatever you want. Okay. So because I want to keep it same constant so that you remember for every CPU scheduling algorithm, the number of processes we are going to enter as 3 and the burst time we are going to enter as 5 and 7, but this is not a compulsion. This is just the easy way so that we remember. Okay, fine. So what is the value of I? I is 0. So let's write that I is 0. What am I doing? I am pressing the program. Fine. Then it checks. Before it enters the body of the loop, it checks the condition. What is the condition? Is I less than n? Is 0 less than 3? Yes. Okay, so it enters the for loop. What are we doing? What is there in our output? Let me write the output here. Printf will display. So what it is going to display? It is going to display P. After that there is a percentage D. So that means this percentage D will be replaced by some variable value. So let me check what is that value. So the value is I plus 1. What is I? 0. 0 plus 1? 1. So it will display P1. So this printf will display P1. Okay. After that there is a scanf statement. Why there is a scanf statement? Because we want to accept the burst time of process P1. Using this scanf we are accepting the value of BT of I. What is I? 0. So we are accepting the burst time of the first process and that burst time will be stored at subscript 0. Okay. So let's enter 5. Let's enter 5. Why this percentage D? Because BT array is of type integer. So definitely it is going to store all the integer values. And since BT is an integer array, format specified in scanf is percentage. Then there is one more statement. P of I is equal to I plus 1. So what is this P of I? So that means there is one more array. And the name of this array is P. We are seeing P of I, so that means P of 0 is I plus 1. So 0 plus 1 is how much? 1. We are accepting the burst time of the first process and in our P array, this is the process array. We are mentioning this is process number 1 and 5 is the burst time of process number 1. From here, then the control comes to the closing brace. From the closing brace, the control goes back to the beginning of the for loop and the control comes to I plus plus. So the next value of I is 1. Then again it checks the condition. Is 1 less than 3? Is 1 less than 3? Yes. So since 1 is less than 3, again it will print P. It will print P. Percentage D will be replaced with I plus 1. I is 1. So P2. It will display P2. Here we have entered as 5. User entered 5 as the burst time. And again here because of the scanf, this scanf statement is waiting for the user to enter the next value. Now suppose user enters 1. Where this 1 is stored? It is stored in BT of I. What is the value of I? 1. So BT of 1. Second value is stored. User has entered second value as 1. Okay, so at subscript 1, the number 1 is stored. Then the control comes to Pi. P of I is equal to I plus 1. So P of I is P of 1. And what are we storing? I plus 1. What is the value of I? 1. 1 plus 1, 2. So it simply means that process number 2 has the burst time 1. As we are entering the burst time into BT array, we are also entering the process numbers in our P array. Okay, again the control comes to the closing brace of our for loop. From here, the control goes back to I plus plus. The next value of I is 2. Then again there is a condition check. Is 2 less than 3? Yes. So the control comes to the printf statement. Now printf will print P and I plus 1 is 2 plus 1. So 2 plus 1 is 3. From there the control comes to scanf statement. User is entering the burst time of the third process. Suppose say 7. This 7 will be stored in BT of I. What is I? 2. So at subscript 2, the burst time 7 is stored in our BT array. And also at subscript 2, because of this P of I statement, At BT of 2, we are storing the process number. What is the process number? 3. So this for loop is only to accept, the burst time of the processes, and as the user enters the burst time, we also maintain the records of process numbers in our T array. Next is the nested for loop. So in my previous video, I have explained the logic of this nested for loop, and what this nested for loop does, it sorts the array. The shortest burst time will be at the beginning of the array because that process gets a chance to get inside the CPU. And since we are rearranging the burst time, we are also rearranging the associated process numbers. So this is only for sorting, since this is shortest job first. Job means process. So what we do, whatever user enters, we rearrange that processes as per their burst time in ascending order, small to. Next is the smallest process will get a chance to get inside the CPU first, and our assumption is all the processes have arrived at time 0. So it simply means that the first process, whoever gets a chance to get inside the CPU, do not wait. So what is the waiting time of that process? 0. So in our waiting time array, this is our waiting time array, and since we are having only 3 processes, our WT array size is also 3. Subscript is 0, 1 and 2. And we say that the first process do not wait. Immediately it gets a chance to get inside the CPU, and that's why we store the waiting time of the first process is 0, whichever is the process. Whichever is the process, the smallest process do not have to wait, and waiting time of that process is 0. Now since we know the waiting time of the first process, the remaining, what about the remaining processes? We have to calculate the waiting time of remaining processes. So we start our for loop with I. So for I is equal to 1, I less than n, I plus plus, we calculate the waiting time of process number, I mean the second process, and we also calculate the waiting time of third process. So this Wt of I is equal to Wt of I minus 1 plus Bt of I minus 1. So this logic I have already explained in my FCFS algorithm. Logic do not change, it's the same. Then the next for loop is to calculate the turnaround time. And for turnaround time, we have a separate array for turnaround time. And there are 3 subscript, 0, 1 and 2. And this is our TAT array. This is our TAT array. And we have to calculate the TAT of each and every process. So we calculate the turnaround time of each and every process. And what is the formula here? We are using TAT of I is equal to WT of I plus BT of I. It is again same as our FCFS CPU scheduling algorithm. What is the purpose of the next for loop? This for loop we are using to calculate the total waiting time and total turnaround time. We are adding each and every waiting time of the processes, and we are calculating the total waiting time, as well as we are also calculating the total turnaround time for each and every process. For I is equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Again this remains same as our FCFS CPU scheduling algorithm. Are we only calculating the total waiting time and total turnaround time? No. We are also displaying some details. What details are we displaying? We are displaying the process number, the burst time of that process, the waiting time of that process, and also the turnaround time of that process. After that, once the for loop is over, after n number of times it repeats this process, the for loop is over, and when the control comes to this particular line, we display this message average waiting time percentage point to f. We are converting total waiting time from integer to float typecasting, and whatever is the total is divided by number of processes, that is n, and that is how we calculate the average. So again and again I will not waste my time to uh, explain the same logic. If you are confused, please go back and check my video of FCFS CPU scheduling algorithm program. And that's all for the day. Thank you.